Hello everybody, welcome to Nostalgia Goggles. I'm Chris, also known as a Retro Gaming Nerd, and I'm kind of feeling a little nostalgic myself for the beginning of this show. So with that being said, I'm going to just loop it right back around to Metroid. Well, Metroid Dread, that is. I feel like starting with Metroid Zero Mission was a really great way to kind of start the show. So I think it's pretty cool to kind of end the year off with Metroid Dread. So with that being said, is this game worth it? Is this the game that Metroid fans have been waiting for? Or is it just, well, another M? Let's find out. So the story of Metroid Dread takes place after Metroid Fusion, where you've dealt with these things called the X-Parasites. But there was a sighting of an X-Parasite on a planet. The Federation does what you think they do, and checks it out themselves. When that fails, guess who they call? You guessed it, Samus Aran. So it is now Samus's job to investigate what happened on this planet. Is the X-Parasite breeding, or is it on this planet? Like, what's up with that? And to figure out what happened to the Emmys, because that's what the Federation sent to kind of figure out what's going on. All in all, a pretty typical Metroid story. I mean, it's nothing really new. It's go to the planet and either figure out something, eradicate something, or destroy a mother brain. And weirdly enough, this game has kind of all of that in it, to a degree. So it's Metroid, it's the return to form, just with everything. More or less. There's some exaggerations there. With that being said, the story's fine. I like it. You know, it gets a little bit more complicated as it goes, but I feel like that's the best way I can describe it without getting into spoiler territory. With all that being said, let's move on to the gameplay segment. So Metroid Dread is a video game that plays or builds upon Metroid Samus Returns, which was an amazing game, but it was definitely for the DS. This game builds upon that, which is really great, because when I played Metroid Samus Returns, I kind of wanted a little bit more from it. It's really nice to see that kind of gameplay style put into a full-on game and not just a remake. It's not 100% Samus Returns, but that is the closest way that I can explain it, because it's a lot more mobile, I guess, or flexible, or more versatile. I mean, Samus herself is super capable in this game. The reason why I say this is because you don't start out with like the, morph ball or anything. You have to deal with just a slide and so on and so forth, but it doesn't feel like an issue, really. It doesn't feel like that. The game never makes you feel like you're missing out on an item, and when you get one, it feels more comfortable, yes, but it never feels like you necessarily need it, and I think that that's amazing in the gameplay department, right? Because this game feels comfortable all the way through. Don't get me wrong, it's still a Metroid game. There still is the backtracking, there still is everything that comes with the Metroid game, but goddamn is this the most comfortable one. I feel like the arm cannon dodge is a really great thing to also have return. It's a little bit hard to master, but once you get it down, it's great. It becomes a nice way to block and also not to take a hit, but there is a giant risk and reward with it. Another thing that is great with this game is that I think the Emmys are a really great addition to the game as well. As a person that loves Metroid Fusion, I love the idea of Samus being hunted, and that game didn't give me it much. There was segments definitely where the X-Parasite hunted you, but those were very scripted, where the ME have a very specific set place to hunt you. They don't hunt you throughout the whole game, which is what I thought, and thank God that didn't happen. That would send a level of anxiety that I am not ready to have yet. It would take me to flashbacks of Nemesis, or even more recently, Mr. X. But I'm happy that they have designated spots. It makes the game tense, but reasonably tense. And it's also kind of what makes me say that I could easily recommend this one. I do feel like you will definitely get lost if this is your first time playing a Metroid game, but I feel like it's easy enough to figure out. There is never a time where I got like super stuck. That might just be because I've been playing Metroid for so long, but I feel like if this is what you're going to pick up, if this is the first one, I can reasonably say, yeah, go for it. I also really absolutely love the boss fights in this game. I feel like they're bigger than life, but they feel reasonable and doable. I absolutely love the attitude that Samus gives for them, which actually kind of pushes into the gameplay a little bit, because when Samus kind of doesn't give a shit in the cutscene, it kind of pushes you to not give a shit. It's really cool to see that happening. That's more of a presentation thing, but I definitely think that having just kind of that body language put into that and then moving directly into gameplay is a great thing to have, because that confidence in the character gives you, the player, confidence. So I like it. The bosses aren't easy either. They will school you if you don't know what's going on, but they're all doable. I feel like that's the best thing about this game, is that no matter how hard you think it gets, as long as you understand the mechanics and use the mechanics, you will definitely get your way through the game. And I could only recommend this one as a great starting point. I think it's a pretty good starting point for Metroid. So there's nothing really more to say about this game to add. It's just a Metroid game. You get more health items as you go. You know, you get more missiles, items in general, yada yada. It's Metroid. So nothing 100% new. It's just nothing 100% new on a surface level. Which isn't a bad thing. It's what Metroid's been doing for such a long time, is it's just building upon what makes Metroid great, and I'm actually super excited to have this game. So, with that being said, does this game look as badass as it plays? Let's find out in presentation. So, I'm just gonna outright say it. This game makes me feel like a badass through the presentation alone, right? I think that it's a really well-presented game. I absolutely love all of the environments and all the stuff that comes with it, but the thing that always sticks out with me with this game is just how much of a badass Samus is, from body language to just handling creatures, right? Like, everything. Like, I feel like if you want to know how the game presents itself, just look at how Samus handles bosses, right? Actually, just look at how bosses are even, because every boss kind of either has a cutscene or has an interesting way of entering a level, and that is how Metroid Dread feels. From the Emmy's kind of like first appearance of being a haggard mess to them being this chasing you creature, to one of the knights coming out of the foreground, to even Crid's kind of chained up self. It's all awesome. Heck, even the brain creature that you fight has a different kind of aspect to it. I feel like, realistically, the game itself sounds and feels like a Metroid game. I don't feel as, like, secluded as other Metroid games do. I also feel like the music isn't as strong to me in this game, because it does definitely focus on some of the silence in the game. Like, the Emmys have kind of a weird sound? I don't know how to put it. They exist in a weird place, right? Of where they have a, not really a song, but a theme that plays that is very kind of, I feel tense, but not as tense as I would say like the SAX, where you can hear the footsteps and a droning kind of, you know, song plays with it. I feel like they did the right amount, right? Like, it's tense, but it's not like super scary, but that also might just be because, you know, used to Metroid, you know? I don't know. But I feel like the music in this game isn't anything like Super Metroid, or isn't anything like even Fusion. It exists, but then again, I would never say Metroid is known for its, like, amazing soundtracks, because what Metroid is known for is seclusion. I did not feel this one, but then again, Dread is kind of goes hard, right? It's a game that goes hard in so many places that I don't feel like seclusion is the way to go. I feel like you're more or less of going to be hunted, and yeah, that's what this game feels like. It feels like you're being hunted, even when you're not, you know. The environments are also really nice. I actually like it being on a Chozo planet, because we get to see a lot of stuff we didn't see in Metroid, and that's just interesting. Oh, and I feel like the enemy design in this game is also something that should be noteworthy. because they're interesting this go around. Metroid always has interesting enemies because they're not like generic guy number one. They're aliens that are all very, very interesting, from like a crit-like being to the first boss. I don't even know how to describe the first boss. That shit's crazy, but it's an interesting design. And last but not least, let me talk about the suit. I don't really have much that I want to say about the suit, except for I'm in love with it, and there's a part of me that doesn't know how I'm going to handle it when a new game comes out, because I am absolutely in love with this suit. I don't even know why I'm in love with the suit. I guess it's the accents of color, the familiar but not. I don't know what it is about this suit. I just know that I love it. It's my screensaver on my phone. I absolutely love the amiibo. I don't know what it is about it, man. I just love it. I really, really love it. You know, the fusion suit used to be my favorite one, but like, I don't know, this one's just dope. With all that being said, the presentation for this game is very solid. I feel like it is a definite Metroid game, but it turns the ideas on its head. Instead of being alone, you're being watched, and that is a very different feeling for the whole Metroid experience, which is one that I would definitely recommend if you're a person that likes the Metroid franchise. With that being said, let's talk about accessibility. The game's like 60 bucks. The thing I hate about doing, I feel like, and this is just where I'm going to talk here, I feel like I'm going to probably cut this segment out, especially when it comes to modern games. Older games, yes, there's definitely going to be an accessibility segment, but I feel like it just is kind of like yeah, it's $60. There is a special edition version, but I have no clue what the price is, because Nintendo did a great job, like it normally does, and either did not tell people that there was a special edition, or they did what I absolutely love, and that is not stocked it, right? I feel like that's just super annoying. That's a whole nother issue. I'm gonna probably talk more about that next year, but yeah, I just it's $60. You're gonna be paying about $60. I think it's a little bit cheaper, but it's a modern game. I really, unless said otherwise, I'm probably gonna stop talking about accessibility in modern games, because what do you want me to say, $60 and then drop the segment? I don't know. I mean, that'd be funny, but I don't know. So with that being said, let's move on to the goods and the bads. The good. There's a lot of good about this game. Anytime that I've played it, it's been really hard for me to put it down, which isn't like new for me, because that's just video games in general. But I feel like when this one came out, I was at too many games, right? And any chance that I got to play it, I did. This is, mind you, the first time I've met many of my friends, right? Like, this is the first time I've met my friends, and here I am in a hotel room playing Metroid Dread. It's not that extreme, mind you, but Dread was so interesting to play, from the story to the gameplay being outstanding to just everything about it was just intriguing. Now, that might have also just been because we haven't had a 2D Metroid in a while. I know that Metroid Samus Returns did come out, but once again, that was a remake. It was new to me, mind you, because let's be real here, I didn't play Samus Returns on the Game Boy, but it's really cool to have a fresh new one, right? That's not, delegated to a handheld system exclusively, and that also is just new, right? So it's cool to have that. We haven't had a new one since Fusion, that I believe. So outside of that excitement, I will admit, though, that the gameplay is dope. As I've said in the gameplay segment, I feel like this is just the best feeling Metroid to this point, right? And that's a lot, coming from a person like me that is a major fan of Super Metroid, and I didn't think it could get any better than that, and it clearly did. I just like how this game makes me feel, at the end of the day. Samus is being hunted, and yet she is taking it on the chin, and it's just like, damn, you wouldn't... It's like that Rorschach moment of, you're not in here, I'm not in here with you, you're in here with me, kind of feeling. And that's just awesome, Because, like I said in, I believe, presentation, you're so used to being the hunter, and now that you're being hunted, Samus just she's not having it. And I just love all of it. This game culminates in just an awesome experience, especially if you're a person that likes Metroidvanias, or if you just like Metroid, or if you just want a new experience. I feel like this game is great. I feel like it's easy for a new person to pick up as well. There is definitely some difficulties to it, but I still feel like it'd be worth it to play. You know, it's just, that's it, you know? With that being said, let's move on to the bad. Yeah, this is one of those things that I'm gonna have to change next year, right? Where the bad segment doesn't kind of exist. I could probably sit here and nitpick the game, right? And I've said this almost every time there's not a bad section, but I feel like I just gotta be honest with you guys. If I don't see anything like super egregious, right, I'm not gonna talk about it. This is a show coming from a person that plays retro games, right? So I'm a little bit skewed on what I can see as bad, right? What I see as bad is either something that is super annoying or super broken or not meant to be in the game. With that being said, this is a game that doesn't have that. I don't really explain the good, the bad segment much, and I think I should do that a little bit more or something or whatever, but I just do not see anything egregiously bad in this game, because I can sit here and honestly nitpick the game and find something. And what I mean by that is I can be like, oh, well, I don't like how I have to backtrack. But that's inevitable. It's part of the Metroid formula. Backtracking is what... It's not like this game is new, right? And it's not like it does it poorly. So I could honestly nitpick. I've said this before, but I want to make this clear. If there is something majorly... not even egregious, just I don't feel like there's anything worth talking about that is bad within this game. And there will be definitely stuff that is in games later. I feel the problem with talking about modern games for me is that I feel like there could be much worse things that they do or more annoying things that they do, but we hit it at that weird point of where modern games are not, at least the ones that I've played are not at that point, right? They're not bad enough. So with that being said, let's move on to final thoughts. So with all that being said, is Metroid Dread worth playing? The answer is, yeah, obviously. I think that if you're a Metroid fan, this game is awesome for you to have, especially since we haven't had a Metroid game in such a long time. Yes, we had Samus Returns, but that wasn't really a new game. That was more or less of a remake. Now that Dread is out, it's really great, and I'm absolutely excited to see what the team would do next, especially since this is an awesome 2D Metroid. And I think for people that have not actually played Metroid, this is also a great way to go into it as well, because it's not simple, but it is new, right? It's not anything that is difficult or too hard to get into, but it's also just the game itself. It's Metroid is the best way to put it. So with that being said, what is your favorite Metroid game if you have one? If not, what is your favorite Metroidvania? Because you played one or the other, probably. With that being said, I hope you guys have a great new year, and hopefully this video is out by that time, because I have a tendency of taking forever to release content, as you can tell on my channel. And I'll see you guys next year, where I have a lot planned. So, see ya!